No excuses for Kyler Murray in 2024. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. Turn notifications on. Leave a like. Be an everydayer. Join the crew. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Fun show today. There's a lot that can be discussed about free agency and things like that. I kind of want to take a day and look back a little bit into 2023 and just see how it's positioned us for 2024. Okay. No excuses for Kyler Murray in 2024. I'll discuss. Monti Ossenfort has shown his cards already. I'll explain. And should there be any tweaks to the offense of Drew Petzing's when there's an infusion of talent at different positions other than tight end, running back, and a couple games for wide receivers? Just a fascinating conversation. I'll hit that too. So Kyler Murray, and this isn't like a threat, like, well, this is it, or you're gone, sir. That's not why I'm saying this. There's no excuses for Kyler Murray in 2024 because it will be the best ecosystem he's experienced since being drafted in 2019. Not saying 2019 was great, and this is the best since that. Since being drafted in 2019, Kyler Murray will have not seen a better ecosystem than what he will see during the start of the 2024 season. Stability in the front office, stability in coaching staff, an offense he can run, and skill position players on offense and defense that will make this most likely the most well-rounded roster he's had. Now, that's not to say there hasn't been talented rosters that he played with, especially the 2021 team that went 7-0 and 10-2. DeAndre Hopkins, even though, he got injured late in the season, AJ Green played okay. Chandler Jones was still here, had a massive sack totals early on. Yeah, I think he had 5.5 or something in week 1 against Tennessee that year. But Kliff, Kingsbury, Steve Keim, and listen, the overarching theme of this segment is, while there are no excuses for Kyler Murray, and most, at least I'll speak for myself, I expect this to be his best year yet. The expectations that come with 2024 are more severe is the wrong word because it has a poor connotation. They're more real and elevated than any time during him being in the NFL. And that's, again, not to say that he's not going to overcome them and supersede and take this team to the promised land. Not Super Bowl, but, move it down the road, get this team better, win more games than you lose, and maybe be a fringe playoff team and then, take off in 2025. But the excuses are done. He will be fully healthy. He will have a head coach who seems to be more of a leader than his last head coach, an offense that is stable, even though, it wasn't perfect in 2023. It was a weird year. But we saw the offense improve significantly when Kyler Murray came back. Trey McBride is a star. We'll see what happens with Michael Wilson if he can stay healthy throughout a year and improve upon his 2023 campaign, his rookie campaign, where he showed flashes of, oh boy, they may have found an absolute star from Stanford in the 3rd round. And we'll see what the infusion of talent looks like on defense. But we do know this. The Cardinals could have / maybe should have won 6 or 7 games in 2023. Okay, the game against the Giants, they were up multiple possessions. They were up 4 scores at halftime, 3 scores. There were games that they gave away. They could have won the Washington game in week 1. The fact that the Cardinals were in contention during 75% of the games with the roster they had in 2023 with all the injuries, with or without Kyler Murray on the field in the first half or the second half of the season, should breed some excitement moving into 2024. Infused talent. Another solid draft. Kyler Murray fully healthy. another year with Michael Wilson, another year with Trey McBride, James Conner coming back as, a top 12 running back in the league. So with all of that said, this is it. This is the beginning of everything. And I think that moving forward, there will be different expectations for this organization. There's no excuses. There's no, I cannot believe that this person is in this position. Oh, this person's in, this is the Arizona Cardinals 2.0. I've just said it, ever since they let go of the last regime. It's like, that's it. This is new. Just because it's never strong. I mean, the Bruce Arians years were great. They were so exciting, so much fun. NFC Championship game, it was fun. Super Bowl, in the late 2000s, yeah, there have been pockets, but building a perpetual machine with a strong foundation, stability, and good players who actually want to be here and not just take a massive, contract to come live in the desert for a little bit and play golf. That's what this is set up to be. And we don't know if it'll happen. Nobody knows. But when you start to build from the studs up in a way that will yield potential for that, that's what we're witnessing right now. And that's the exciting part. And with that, there's no more excuses. 2023 was a season full of reasons. I firmly believe that, not excuses. There's a difference. Reasons, not excuses. And when you have Kyler Murray coming back, his contract now looks like a steal, even though it's going to be a massive cap hit in 2024 specifically. And a steal compared to the other, he's what, 8th? It's only going to look better and better. No more excuses. And I think that he's going to put to rest, I think it's safe to say, one way or the other, if he's the guy for the future or not. This is the year. This is the year. And while that may seem like pressure, I don't think it is. It's a happenstance. It's a perfect storm that everything's aligning to where the roster will get better. Everybody's healthy. Another year, a year under the belt for Jonathan Gannon and the coordinators. Another year for Monti Ossenfort. This is the year we're going to find out. And there's no poor connotation. It's like, well, this is it, or see you later. Nope. There's just no more excuses. No more reasons. Maybe I should say no more reasons / excuses. Because I don't think Kyler Murray's made excuses for anything. Pivoting into 2024, starting at the end of the Super Bowl on Sunday, Arizona Cardinals 2.0 will fully be able to round into shape after what we saw last year. And it's going to be flipping fantastic. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AC Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. We already know who Monty is. He showed us pretty much right away. What am I talking about? I'll discuss it next. First, this episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by DoorDash. Super Bowl time, man. It's Super Bowl time. Did the game go to a timeout? Time to order with DoorDash. Is it halftime? That's ordering time. 2-minute warning? You got it. That's your cue to order in. Whenever the game clock stops, it's time to order DoorDash. Pizza, wings, soda, or even just buns to do hot dogs or whatever at home. You can order it on DoorDash, get delivered without missing the game. You don't have to do anything. You can watch the funny commercials. You can, scroll Twitter. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about it. You just order the food and it comes right to your door. It's fantastic. And it doesn't just have to be from a traditional place it delivers. DoorDash delivers to probably most of your favorites in your given city. Two of mine, Julio's, 2 and Postino. I talk about them every week. They're great. It doesn't just have to be pizza, wings, or burgers. But if it is, DoorDash can do that also. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms do apply. That's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms do apply. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by PrizePicks. I love PrizePicks. The people at PrizePicks have a fantastic setup. The big game is right around the corner, and PrizePicks is the easiest way and the most exciting way to turn every game-changing moment into 100 times your money. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. If Patrick Mahomes throws for more than 1 yard in the big game, you win on PrizePicks. Like, they've got quick withdrawals. I mean, you can deposit any which way. You just pick 2 or more in your projected stats, and 2 or more players, and you pick more or less in their projected stats, and you can win a bunch of money. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. And don't forget, if Patrick Mahomes throws for more than 1 yard in the big game, you win on PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Alex Lacy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging out. Everydayers, thank you. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thank you. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Monti Ossenfort has already shown his cards. Right away. And while it just seemed like happenstance and it seemed like, the necessary move because he found the right trade partner, I think it's more than that. Let me explain. So the offseason was pretty much mum's the word. Brought in a couple guys, brought in Kazir White, which was great. Kazir White was great before going on IR. Brought in LJ Collier, brought in, a couple guys. But it wasn't a big splash because they knew this was a 2-year process, especially with Kyler Murray out for, at that point, an unforeseen, an unknown amount of time. Could have been the whole year. I mean, at that point, we didn't know. The safe move for Monti Ossenfort during the 2023 draft would have just been draft Will Anderson. Easy. 3, best non-quarterback potentially, take him. Alabama, pass rusher. 2 words that are a match made in heaven. This pass rush was terrible in 2022. Perfect. You got your guy for the future at a premium position that you will, underpay on the rookie scale contract. And match made in heaven. That would have been a perfectly correct move to make. Perfect. He chose not to do that. And not only did he choose not to do that, but he chose to trade down out of the top 10. And he chose to move back. Nick Caserio, they go back to their Patriot days. He chose to move out of the top 10 for a team that had no real identity. So, well, you could have had your pass rusher for the future. I know that future draft picks are important. I get all that. I know the Cardinals are going to compete in 2023, but you could have had your pass rusher for the future. And Monti Ossenfort said, you know what? There's a better option out there. So we traded back to 12. They got a first-round pick for 2024, and they got Houston's second-round pick for 2023. So now they have a top 15 pick still. They have 2 second-round picks, and they have Houston's first-round pick next season. And when the trade happened, they ended up getting Houston's first-round pick and not Cleveland's first-round pick that Houston had for the Deshaun Watson trade. So it seemed like Monti Ossenfort just, was highway robbery, which, flash forward to now, Cleveland's pick was actually worse than or better. I don't know. Is it better or worse? Higher towards one, doesn't matter, than Houston's. But still, when that trade back happened, fine. And you know what? The Cardinals could have taken, Broderick Jones. There are a couple offensive linemen they could have taken. Who knows? This team had no identity. We had no idea where he was going to go. And then 2 picks go by. He gives up the Houston's second-round pick and moves back up to 6 to draft Paris Johnson Jr. while keeping the future first-round pick that they just got 25 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, less. And took Paris Johnson Jr. So I say that to kind of put that into perspective. This isn't like a GM of NFL team isn't like a new district manager or new CEO or COO of a company that wants to make a bunch of changes to put his or her stamp on things. Because it happens a lot. New management comes in, things change. Because a new management comes in, they got hired to do something. They like things done a specific way, things that have probably worked in the past, and then they implement those things. And then it takes a while for everybody to adapt, and then that's the way things are. That's not what an NFL GM does. Sure, it could happen, coincidentally, but that's not the root of why things happen. Now, in certain situations, like, this team is just dysfunctional. Like there's no talent anymore. So obviously you have to trade back, get more picks, things like that. Like that is kind of how you think about it. But it's not like a GM's like, oh, this is my team now. I'm going to make everything the way that I've done things before in the past, irrespective of what it what it looks like right away. It's like, I've got a bigger vision, but this is how I do things. And I always trade back. So I'm just going to trade back because I've always traded back. That's not this. Monti Ossenfort, he's a gambler. That's my point. And it's not like gambler, maybe not the right word. He sees the big picture differently than some others. And what people potentially saw as risk and giving up on Will Anderson to get a first round pick and a second in the 2023 draft before trading back up, it was the trade back up that really was like, what are we doing? Like, what? It's a different level of thinking. And the way that he goes about doing things is maybe not something, because we had no idea. Going from Steve Keim, it's like do anything, just not the way he did it. But the meticulous nature in which he maneuvered through the 2023 draft, trading back from the top of the second round. So Tennessee moved up to draft Will Levis. They ended up getting BJ Ojulari in the middle of the second round anyways, and picking up a third round pick that they're going to pick this year. Like, this offseason is going to be absolutely maniacally wild for the Cardinals. The floodgates are open, and he showed us who he was right away. And while it seems like, well, that was just what needed to happen. They need to pick up kicks. They got a deal that they couldn't pass up. The Cardinals easily could have just taken Will Anderson, and it would have been fine. Would have been great. Nobody would have scoffed at all. Will Anderson won Defensive Rookie of the Year. It would have been great. Monti Ossenfort saw a better opportunity and a way to leverage that opportunity to keep this ball rolling to where the Cardinals will continue to stack good players for years to come. And that is a forward-thinking ability that if he's able to fulfill on this path, the Cardinals could be destined for things we've never seen before. And this isn't, again, these aren't platitudes. This isn't just sugarcoating things. It's just what it is. So when we fast forward to now, when the Cardinals have cap space, there's a lot of players that probably aren't going to be on this team next year. And there's a free agent group, a bunch of wide receivers, a bunch of Philadelphia players who may not be happy with where they're at now, and everything in between. Monti Ossenfort, and nothing is off the table. And that is so much more comforting, which is weird. But I think comforting is the right word, to have possibilities than to just expect Murphy's Law to come into place again. And I will restate this. Even if Steve Keim was the best GM we've ever seen, and he decided to retire last year, and that's why Monti Ossenfort took over. In a vacuum, what Monti Ossenfort has done has been incredible. It's been great. And obviously we've only seen 1 year of the rookies, but so far, regardless of who he was supplanting as GM of the Arizona Cardinals, he's done a great job. It's not in comparison to, it's standalone. He's done a great job. And it's great. And it's going to be so much fun to see what happens moving forward. Now, with that, when there's more talent than just Trey McBride and Michael Wilson for a handful of games and James Conner on offense, will that tweak Drew Petzing's approach towards the offense in 2024, especially if they draft one Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 4 overall? Let's discuss it next as we roll on here. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by BetterHelp. Okay, so sometimes, we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to tell you how I'm really feeling about something, and you may even be thinking about the same kind of thing. I don't know how to feel about the 49ers. A little twist. I don't know how to feel about the 49ers. I'm starting to enjoy watching them play, which isn't fun. It's the wildest thing, because it's like when you become a sports fan or you worked in, media like I have for over a decade, it's like I appreciate greatness. And what we're witnessing right now is the perfect mix of maybe the best roster offensively, I guess, and defensively we've seen in 5, 7, 8 years, with Mr. Irrelevant fused together. It's just something that, I can't really comprehend, but I enjoy watching. Maybe hopefully that'll end after the Super Bowl. I'm picking the Chiefs to win, so hopefully that'll be the case. But up until this point, it's been very fun to watch the 49ers, and I'm conflicted about it. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Alex Clancy, thanks for hanging out. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go leave a review where you listen to your podcast, if you do the audio version of it, I'd appreciate that too. But, I'm just happy that you're here and enjoying this with me. No excuses for Kyler Murray in 2024. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And it's not threat. There's no reasons. There's nothing else as of now, that I think would deter him from really taking that next step. And I think it's going to be great. And you know what? If it isn't, we can talk about it when it isn't. But I have a pretty, I think this is going to be a big year for Kyler Murray. Monti Ossenfort is calculatedly, I wish I could come up with the term it's not reckless, because reckless means you don't have your feet on the ground and you're kind of unpredictable and things like that. That's not what it is. He's a controlled hurricane of greatness, potentially. That doesn't work either. I'll come up with something. But this offseason is going to be insane. And it's going to be awesome. And, it begs the question, is Drew Petzing's offense going to look different in 2024 with Kyler Murray calling the shots for the entire year and there being more talent on offense, whether it be Marvin Harrison Jr. and another wide receiver that they bring in? They'll get more opportunity because defense is going to be better. Is it just going to be Trey McBride as wide receiver 1? Will things change in 2024 regarding scheme for Drew Petzing? That's the question. My answer, simply no. And let me explain why. I don't think that Trey McBride balling out and James Conner and Emari Demercado and Michael Carter at the end of the year balling out from the running back room was because they didn't have talent elsewhere. I think that Trey McBride just got open more than wide receivers did. And I think James Conner and Emari Demercado and Michael Carter and the offensive line found run block schemes that just worked, and you can thank Drew Petzing and thank the offensive line coach, etc. It wasn't due to lack of other options regarding what we saw. They were just the best players at their position. They were the ones that got open, and they're, especially the running backs. It was just, listen, they found the scheme that worked, the timing of the play calling that worked, and, the play action being efficient in the play action helps the run game also. It doesn't just help the pass game, it helps the run game. Keeps defenses on their toes. So say they bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. and say just a name that I've thrown out because I talked about a long list of wide receivers that are free agents. Say they bring in Tyler Boyd. Okay, he's 29, he's 30, he's been like the best wide receiver 3 we've seen in the last 5 years, every year. And then whenever somebody gets hurt, whether it be Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, he comes in and he's a bona fide, wide receiver 2 fringe, wide receiver 1 light from week to week. And if you play fantasy football, you know that Tyler Boyd is a darling to have on your roster if you draft T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. So say you bring in a B-level wide receiver to bolster the wide receiver room. You got Michael Wilson. They probably have Rondale Moore and Greg Dortch still. Is it going to change things? No. It's just going to make Trey McBride's life easier. It's going to make the running back's life easier, and the wide receivers will eat. And I've gone back and forth with this. I did a segment mid-season because I can only talk about proof of concept and abstract things for so long before, I got to pivot. Does this offense need a wide receiver 1? It was one of my most fun segments to do. Like, could you have 3 B-level wide receivers and Trey McBride and be fine? Probably. But imagine a run-first-ish. Like, this isn't like a Ravens from a couple years ago run-first offense, but the Cardinals were top 7, top 8 in rushing yards in 2023 in multiple categories. And that was without Kyler Murray. I know Josh Dobbs had, a couple large chunk gains, a couple of them for touchdowns earlier on in the season, but the majority of it was the running backs. You set up play action. Imagine having Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside, Trey McBride in the slot on the same side of the field, or lined up on the line, with his hand in the dirt. And James Conner's having a good game rushing the ball. And Kyler Murray, play action, rolls left and has those 2 guys to choose from. It's only going to make this better. And that's like, well, duh, obviously more offense, more good, better players are going to make the offense better. That's not the point of this exercise. The thing that's important to understand, in my opinion, from last year is it's not just because the wide receiver group wasn't great. That's why Trey McBride flourished. He got, 40% more targets because they had no wide receivers to throw the ball to. I think, and with that, it begs the question, well, do they need wide receivers for this offense to go? And that's why this segment is happening. And no, I mean, yes, they do, but that doesn't change the scheme. It's going to be running the ball. It's going to be play action. It's going to be a lot of Trey McBride. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. gets drafted by the Cardinals, which it seems like he's slated to do, he's going to eat also. And it's going to be awesome. So what's the alternative? So like, say I'm wrong, which I am, once a month, I think, maybe. Don't fact check. I'm right. Don't fact check. This is not a time where I'm wrong. Don't fact check. Don't do it. Once a month, I think I'm wrong. What's the alternative? A lot more spread offense, a little bit more infusion into the Kliff Kingsbury world, and that's not a knock around, just more spread out, more 5 wide instead of running 12 personnel, and letting Kyler Murray do things from more of the shotgun world than the under center world, even though you can run Drew Petzing's offense from shotgun as if Kyler Murray was under center, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense. It makes sense. But what's the alternative? You bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe you draft another wide receiver with one of your 3rd-round picks, or you sign a couple of free agent wide receivers who want to play with Kyler Murray, and you've got multiple weapons on the outside, and you can run the ball from shotgun. It widens the box. I mean, you're going to have less guys in the box if they're playing, dime defense or whatever it is, or 2 high safeties, and the Cardinals have, more room to run the ball from that. But I don't see Drew Petzing pivoting that much. I don't see it. I think that the more stable offense is the way to go, and then you can spread your wings to that as a wrinkle, but not as like the base offense. And I don't think he'd ever shift that way, regardless of how much offensive talent the Cardinals have. And I think that's the best part about Drew Petzing. He knows who he is. And imagine getting more talent on this offense, being able to run that offense that they did very, very well down the stretch when Kyler Murray came back, all things considered. It's going to be fascinating to see moving forward when they infuse some talent, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side of the ball, which will allow the offense more opportunities throughout the 2024 season. That's all I got to say. Without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.